Hi, welcome to Right to Top. I'm Adam. In today's video, I want to talk to you about the subjunctive mood. Now, the subjunctive mood is essentially a structure that we use especially in writing. Of course, it is used in spoken English, but not as commonly as it is in written English and in more formal written English. Okay, so this is especially good for those of you taking the IELTS, TOEFL, or any English exam where you have to write an essay or a letter or an article, etc. And the reason I want you to know the subjunctive mood is because it adds variety to your sentence structures. It adds a little bit of style to your writing and can make your writing very pretty, to say something about that. Now, it is very easy to write and say the same ideas without using the subjunctive, but you want to have the variety, so you want to know another style of expressing an idea, and this is what we're going to do today. Now, the thing you need to know about the subjunctive mood, we're going to look at 4 different ways of using it. One of them is pretty familiar to you. It's basically the if conditional, the unreal if conditional, but we're looking at a specific type of that conditional. We're also looking for wishful thinking, basically using the verb wish. We're going to look at how to express commands, give advice or suggestions, or how to express the importance or urgency of something. And we're going to look at a few fixed expressions that use the subjunctive mood. Now, before I get into this, all I want you to do is watch how I build them, look at some of the examples, make sure you understand the construction. Don't try to understand the reasons behind it. Don't worry about that. There is no rhyme or reason to a lot of the stuff we do in English. Learn the construction, learn how and when to use it, and you'll improve your essays, get a higher score because you have some more sophistication. Let's start with the if conditional. So we have regular if plus subject plus were or were to, and then the second clause has the would verb. If I were you, I would leave it alone. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up as a subjunctive and not as an if conditional is because we're using the verb be. So with any other verb, you have a regular conditional, unreal conditional, if past tense verb would. If I won $1 million, I would buy a house. When you use the be verb, it's always were, never was. Now, I'm sure that many of you have heard native English speakers say, oh, if I was you. That's fine. People use it a lot. It's accepted. Technically, not correct. This is the subjunctive, using the were for the conditional. If I were you, if he were, if she were, if they were, if you were. Doesn't matter what the subject is, always were. We're going to talk about to in a second. If she were in this situation, she would do it differently. If I were, if she were. Doesn't matter the pronoun, the subject, etc. If we're talking about a future unreal, then we use to. If Jim were to become CEO, you can be sure he would fire half the staff within a week. In the future, if this happens, he would do this. So it's still an unreal, but we use were, to, and then the base verb, the infinitive verb. If you said, if Jim becomes CEO, then the second clause would have to be, you can be sure he will fire, because now it's a real possibility. If he becomes, in fact, he will, in fact. Now, look at the last sentence. Were John to ask for a raise, and I look at the top there, were plus subject plus to verb. Were John to ask for a raise, it is likely he would actually be fired. Basically, what this means is if John were to ask for a raise, all I'm doing is I'm switching the order and I'm taking out the if. This is a very formal style of the subjunctive. Be very careful about using it, because if you use it incorrectly, you can make it very difficult for the reader to understand what's going on. Maybe your whole paragraph even falls apart. I'm going to give you some more formal situations a little bit after I explain the other parts. Wishful thinking. Subject plus wish plus past tense verb. And again, if you're using the be verb, again, it's were, not was. Technically, it's a subject and wish plus a that clause. I wish I were with you. I wish what? That I were with you. We generally don't use that, the that conjunction, but I just want you to understand that it is technically a that clause, and we're going to talk about that clauses in the next part as well. If you say, I wish to be with you, that's a whole different thing. That's expressing a desire. I wish I were with you is expressing a wish, something that's very unrealistic. I wish I were with you means, but I'm not, okay? He wishes he were more skilled with computers. Jane wished she were richer. What do you notice about these examples? The wish is the verb that takes the tense. The were never changes. Okay? He wishes, Jane wished, I wish, one day she will wish something. The wish takes the tense. The be verb always were when you're using wish. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so now we're looking at a very specific structure. We're talking about a particular indicative verb, and I'll explain that in a second, plus a that noun clause. So we mentioned the that clause before. Here it's a very distinct that clause. You can use that or you don't have to use that. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't, depending on the situation. Noun clause with a base verb, and that's the key. That is the actual subjunctive, the base verb. Base means it doesn't take any tense. It was only the verb itself. So the base of be is be, not is, was, were, whatever. It doesn't change tense. Always be. Play, always play. Doesn't matter he, she, I, we, they. Play, never plays, never played, never will play. The subjunctive verb does not take a tense. It's timeless. Okay? It's a mood. That's why it's called a subjunctive mood. The indicative verb, the one that leads up to it, up to the that clause, is what takes the tense. So the more common indicative verbs are suggest, recommend, ask, insist, demand, command, order, wish, propose, and urge. We can also use the nouns advice and advise. Okay, let's look at some examples. The doctor advised that Jim be brought to hospital right away. Advised is your indicative, past tense. The doctor advised last week that Jim be brought to hospital. Now, here we have a passive, be brought by his family to hospital. Notice that the be is not is. Be brought, not is brought. The be doesn't take any tense. It always remains the base. The doctor advised that Jim go to hospital. Go, not goes. Okay? To say that the doctor advised that Jim goes to hospital is incorrect. And if you use this in your essays, you actually are hurting your score, not helping your score. The doctor advised that Jim not go to hospital. So notice with the negative, I don't add the helping verb do. I don't say the doctor advised that Jim do not go to hospital or does not go to hospital. We keep the base verb, we just add the negative adverb to it. Okay? Be verb, be. Go, go, not goes. Be, not is. The doctor's advice, now I'm using the noun, is that, and now we have the that clause, Jim be brought to hospital, and everything is the same way. Notice that in all of these, I can take out that. The doctor advised Jim be brought to hospital right away. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. When you're doing reading, you need to recognize the noun clause, the that clause. Even if that is not included, you must recognize the structure and know what's going on. For those of you taking the GMAT or SAT, they're going to ask you questions in the grammar section to test your knowledge of the subjunctive. Make sure you can recognize this structure, okay? The same applies if we're using an adjective, but the beginning is very important. Always, it is. It is plus adjective plus the noun clause, the that clause. And the more common adjectives, vital, essential, important, crucial, imperative, necessary, best, desirable, urgent, recommended, a good idea, a bad idea. It is important that all members fill out a form. So now you're thinking all members, plural, fill, no problem. It is important that each member fill out a form. Doesn't matter if I have plural or singular, the fill, the subjunctive mood verb, does not change. It remains base. It does not take a time. It was important that each member fill out a form. The is can change tense. Okay? It was, it will be. That first verb can change tense. The subjunctive cannot. And the same with be. It is important that each member be on time, not is on time. Okay? So that is basically the structures that you need to, those are the structures you need to remember. It is important. Now, if you're writing with a British touch to it, I guess you could say, the British like to add the word should. It is important that each member should fill out a form. The doctor advised that Jim should go to hospital. So this is more common in British style of writing. They add the should. The meaning is the same. The should is part of the subjunctive when it comes to the British style of the subjunctive. Okay? Don't think about it as advice. Just think about it as part of the subjunctive. The should goes with the base verb. Neither of them takes any tense. Okay? Let's move on to fixed phrases. Okay, so we have a few fixed expressions when it comes to the subjunctive. So be it. So be it means that's how it's going to be. Notice the be is always be. Never is, was, were, will be. If that's how it has to be, so be it. If this is how the situation must be, then that's how it will be. So be it, the situation. It and that are the same thing. Or it and it is the same thing, sorry. As it were. When we say as it were, it's basically like in a manner of speaking. So in a way, so to speak, in a manner of speaking. Linda, you don't look well. Let me take you to bed, as it were. So when you say to somebody, let me take you to bed, they might have a different idea of what you're saying. When you're saying it, let me take you to bed means let me put you in bed so you can lie down and rest. The as it were means I can't really think of any other way of saying let me put you in bed without suggesting something else. More common in spoken English, don't really use it in written English. Be that as it may. So whether this is true or not, whatever came before, whether it is true or not, we're going to continue. So they claim innocence. Be that as it may, we will have to begin an investigation. Again, a little bit more common in spoken English, but you can use it in written English as well. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but we're going to do something anyway. We're going to have to begin an investigation. If need be. So again, the need never needs, okay? Never needed, always need. That's your subjunctive verb. If it is necessary. So provincial politicians must act. If need be, so if it is necessary to, the government is willing to subsidize the costs, okay? So 4 fixed expressions. If need be, can be used in writing, could be used in spoken English. Both are okay. So now, let's say you're writing for the IELTS or the TOEFL and you have some more serious and more formal writing to do. So here are a couple examples. I have like 3 or 4 examples to show you how to implement or to include these types of subjunctive expressions. So this is an essay about what schools can do to fight obesity among youth or children. School boards have the power to change this situation. This situation, obesity among young kids. Were they, for example, to mandate that every school employ a nutritionist to oversee cafeteria offerings, as well as conduct healthy eating workshops, this could easily change the reality on the ground and going forward. So were they to mandate that every school employ? Every school employ, not employs. And were they? So if they were to mandate. So again, this is just a hypothetical. I'm not saying that this is a real situation. Because it's an essay, I'm giving an opinion. It's a hypothetical. It's an imaginary situation because right now it's just not real. Now you can also say, for example, were they to mandate? You can change the order. I put it in the middle just to show you a little bit of different approach. In the next one, we're talking about what governments can do to fight climate change or fight pollution. Many politicians are loath to fight climate change because they fear they will be blamed for the high costs of doing this and lose their next election battle. This is why it is crucial that the electorate be supportive of these initiatives. So politicians are loath to fight, means they're very unwilling. They don't want to fight climate change because it's very expensive. That's why it is very crucial. It's very important that the electorate, the people who vote, be supportive, not are or is supportive. Be, because you have it is. Now, you don't have to begin the sentence with it is important, it is crucial. It could be anywhere in the sentence. You're starting a new clause with it. Make sure that you have the adjective, the one I showed you before, the indicative, that, and then the electorate. Now, this is why it is crucial the electorate be. Be careful. Sometimes you will read this and you will not see that, okay? But you should still recognize it is adjective and then be in the subjunctive voice. A couple more, 3 more. There are those who have not yet realized that wishing one were successful is not going to make one so. It is only through hard work and dedication that a person finds success. Wishing one were successful. The wishing can take different forms. But wishing one were. Wishing I were. I wish I were. Same idea. In my opinion, I'm giving a thesis statement. In my opinion, schools ought to insist. Okay, so I have the verb insist, that, my clause. every instructor take additional courses throughout his or her tenure in order to keep up with the latest trends in pedagogy. Insist, take, not takes, even though it's every instructor. Tenure, time as a teacher, pedagogy, teaching methodology. Thus, it is imperative that decisions of this nature not be left. Not, is not, be, or do not be left. I have a passive, negative. Not be left. The be does not change regardless of what time it is, what situation, active, passive. Subjunctive, always be, always base, especially in passive. Okay. I hope this was a little bit clear and a little bit helpful. Try practicing the subjunctive mood before you actually put it into your official test's essay. Not easy, but as long as you can recognize the structure and use it, your scores should go higher in the essay. If you have any questions about this, don't be shy. Ask me, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or down here below in YouTube. Like my video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. More grammar, writing, test tips, all that good stuff coming soon. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.